Hello, 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 everyone. How is everyone doing today? So this is I don't even know, I'm going to stop counting. I think our fifth or sixth Founders Check-In. Very, very excited to bring on a guest. Normally it's just me, but for the summer and maybe moving forward, we're going to have guests coming on who can share their expertise that will allow for you as founders to be able to implement some new strategies and tools and tactics into your business that will allow for you to thrive. So today, I'm really, really excited to have Andrew Weiss. Oops, is it Weiss?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
It's Andrew Weiss. I met Andrew. It's been about 2 months now. I was actually on his podcast, and I just really jived with him. He has such a good spirit, such a good soul, but he is also so savvy in the work that he does. And so I really, really bonded with him. And now I'm taking a course with him, which we'll talk about a little later on, that I'm really excited about and my team is excited about in our business. So I'm going to have him talk about that a little bit. But Andrew is a sales and accountability coach. And he basically works with founders and business owners to help them be able to use content, AI specifically, and the ability and speaking to be able to drive revenues into their businesses. So today we're going to talk a bit about, yes, AI, because I feel like so many of us, it's right now, it's here. Those of us that are above the age of 35 know that, we always heard about it coming up, but now it's here and we want to be able to leverage it in our businesses. And I want that for you. So we're going to talk about that. He's going to actually share some real apps that exist and things that you can do and tell you specifically how you can use them in your business. So definitely stay on board for that. He's also going to be helping us a bit about how to generate content that makes sense for us in terms of generating revenue. I know everyone talks about content a lot, but he's really, really so sharp about that. And then we're also going to dive into a bit around speaking, because that to me is a really, really important part. And it's something that a lot of people have some fears about, Andrew, don't they? And so we're going to
Yes.
just go in and dive. So this is going to be like a multifaceted Founders Check-In. So we're going to jump right in. So Andrew, tell me about yourself. Tell all of us about yourself.
Oh man. So my name is Andrew Weiss, originally from Portland, Oregon area. And I essentially dove into public speaking when I was in college and did Toastmasters. And the first year going out, I was going out for the international competition and I got second place out of two people. And I'm going, well, I guess I suck at
I
public
love it.
speaking. I guess it's not for me. But fortunately I picked myself up again. You go, you know what, fall down 7 times, get up 8. Let's try again. And
That's
then
how it is. Yeah.
the next year, my senior year of college, I got voted the top speaker in all Central and Southern Oregon at 22.
I mean, that's
And
amazing. I mean, guys, you hear that? So if you're thinking about doing some speaking, hang tight, because Andrew's going to have some real good tips because he's actually been there, done that.
yes, yeah. And so it was definitely an incredible experience. I'm like, okay, I enjoyed this. I'm good at it. And the thing about public speaking is it's one of the best skills you could ever develop for yourself in your entire life. And even Warren Buffett, maybe you've heard of that guy who has a couple dollars to his name.
Whatever, some person.
He credits his public speaking abilities for one of the top reasons why he's successful. Because it just translates to so many areas of your life, and being able to negotiate and being able to talk to the restaurant owner, to be able to go on date, to be in the dating world, like having public speaking, confident communication skills is essential to everything. And so it's definitely something I'm passionate about.
To be able to communicate it in a genuine way that makes sense for you. Sometimes people feel like, oh, well, I can't be a public speaker like, for instance, like, Barack Obama or like a Martin Luther King or someone who's really good on stage. But the thing is, I think, and I'm sure you probably agree, Andrew, is that, public speaking needs to be really genuine, coming from your style, your way of being. And I think once you can communicate your message in a way that's authentic, I think people really do gravitate to it, regardless of the fare. Don't you think?
100%. Yeah. And I'd say finding your authentic voice is also one of the best things you can do for yourself. And I was fortunate. I've been heavily involved in personal and professional development since high school, where I took every single quiz to learn about my personality and what my strengths are, and Strengths Finder. And if I didn't take all that, I wouldn't know anything about myself. So, but you have to know about yourself in order to show yourself to the world and accomplish
Yeah,
what you want to go after.
exactly. So Andrew lives in New York now because he's recently married.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, fast forward a few years after college, I got involved with the Podfest Expo. I helped lead a nonprofit on teaching professional skills to high school students. Launched my own business, Weiss Wisdom LLC. I'm the founder and CEO, and actually met my wife through Podfest. It's we broke 2 Guinness World Records for world's largest virtual podcasting event.
Oh
And
my
that was an exciting
goodness.
thing to be part of. And so through that one of those events, I met my current wife. We're living in New York City. She's on Broadway, so she's definitely a
Oh,
little cooler than
cool.
me.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. And for
Yeah.
those of you who don't know what Podfest is, it's basically, I think, the largest gathering of podcasters in the country. Yes.
One of the largest. Yeah. So we broke the 2 Guinness World Records for our virtual events, our in-person events. We are one of the largest in the world where people fly in around the world to come to our events for content creators.
In the
So
world, guys. So if you
yes,
guys are
yeah.
thinking about, starting a podcast and, you want to network with other podcasters or just sort of learn better skills, I would definitely highly recommend checking Podfest out. And I think you guys are doing it in Orlando again this year or next year.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So fortunately, while it's still 2023, for those watching, want to mark their calendars, our next event will be January 25th to 28th in Orlando. We worked with the hotel to get a super cheap hotel rate as well. So it's our 10-year anniversary. So it was founded by Chris Krimitsos 10 years ago.
10
We're
years.
definitely excited for
Wow.
that. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so definitely. And it's not just for podcasters. I mean, if you are a podcast guest and you do a lot of that, it really definitely might be valuable for you to attend as well, to network with some of the, the one percenters in the podcasting world. You might get booked on a really great podcast and really launch your career. So definitely check that out. And it's just podfest.com, I'm assuming, yeah.
Podfestexpo.com. Yes. Yeah. You can
Yes,
go get more
yes.
information, get tickets. And yeah, and obviously, yeah, if you're a content creator or want to be, or you want to be a guest on shows, this is definitely the place to be, because we have Instagram influencers, LinkedIn influencers, TikTok, YouTube. And these are some of the OGs of the industry as well, who've been
Been
doing this
around for
for
a bit.
10
Yeah,
years. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
So one of the things that we talked about earlier, how we're going to talk about today is AI, right? Because so most of the audience are there, founders of primarily service-based businesses. And everyone, as your founder, as Andrew, you're a founder as well, don't have time to really be going into the weeds on everything. And everyone's sort of talking about AI, but can you share a bit about really what are some of the high level things that one can use in AR, particularly as small and medium sized businesses can implement now, whether it's just training someone on their team to be able to do it, or even if they are a solopreneur, implementing it now in their business that would make it really sort of a big bang for the buck.
Yeah. So what I'd say about the AI conversation in general is, at this point, it's adapt or die. It's moving so quickly. It's becoming so powerful. I admit it is getting a little scary. And yes, we do need to set boundaries and lines about how we're going to leverage it. But the answer is, at the end of the day, it is a tool, and it is definitely a great tool you can use for good, to benefit you, make you more money, bring you more clients, impact the world better. And so as far as AI tools, Chat GPT, I forget what the GPT stands for, but it's currently you can use a free trial, free version of it. Google also just entered the arms race in technology and AI by creating Bard,
Yeah, I heard
which is
about that.
good.
You're the one
Yeah.
who told me about that, and I was like, "Wow, it's gonna change everything."
Oh yes, it really is. And I'm glad there's some competition there. So it's basically
There
between
must be,
Microsoft and
yes,
Google between who can create the best AI. And then
yes.
just last week, Adobe Photoshop finally created their own image generation and image
Oh,
filling.
is that right? Now that's pretty
Yes,
cool. Yes.
yes, and they're doing yeah. So that technology is super cool too. Like, there's a feature called the expand image,
Uh-huh.
and if you like take what's the famous painting of like the woman looking at you, not the Mona Lisa, but we'll just say the Mona Lisa, for example, and you could do expand image, and so AI will generate what the landscape is outside of the portrait that everything is so famous for. Like, is she on a farm and there's like a horse in the background, and it will
Oh,
use the same
wow.
exact painting style as just that little portrait.
Wow.
And another person, what they did is they told AI to put a Nike logo on and a headband on the person's head, and then it like has the person taking a selfie at the gym saying "just do it," and just creating ads super easy for engaging with your audience.
That's
So
very cool. Yeah. So,
yeah.
I want to make sure that people get some real good value from this. So, what are the real buckets? So, I obviously, one way that someone can use AI in their business, let's say someone is a consultant, for instance, and they are consulting with large corporations in, say, the DEI space, for instance.
Yeah.
What would be a tool or one thing specifically they could use right now today to implement some revenue generating progress in their business using AI?
Yeah. So what I would do is, so AI can help with everything, but for one category at a time, we'll say, find me, 20 companies in X state that are looking to create a DEI program in their company or something like that. And in 10 seconds, AI will give you the top 10 companies that are creating new DEI initiatives or something like that.
That right there
Yeah.
is so great because I've had a business full time for a number of years. Plus, of course, I've done a great deal of work in having to generate leads for most of my career, and it takes so much time. Obviously, the countless number of interns and junior staff that has worked with me that have to sort of figure this out and like create lists and those kinds of things. To be able to just use an AI tool to be able to just at least just generate what could be prospective clients that could get value from your services alone in 5 seconds is so valuable, because it not only cuts down time, but it creates accuracy. It's a great deal and it gets you straight from prospecting straight to being able to offer the services, so therefore they can get value from you. I love that. What other things do you think that a consultant could use AI to do?
Yeah. So I also so nowadays there's a term called prompt engineer, because obviously AI is as powerful as how you direct it and the guidance that you give it. And this prompt engineering is so important. They're actually paying people $300,000 a year just to do prompt engineering for AI to help benefit the company. So of course, if you can learn how to properly train AI to help you in your own business, you're going to keep skyrocketing ahead of the competition.
And a prompt is just for, again, what's a prompt?
Yeah. Yes. So it's the question that or the statement that you tell AI what to do for you. So example prompt, like I just said, is like, give me a list of 10 companies, blah, blah, blah. And it'll just give you 10 random companies. You're like, no, okay, now give them to me that are in New York. Okay, now give them to me that are in the Bronx. Okay, now make sure that these companies have been around for at least 10 years. And so you have to constantly make these tweaks to the prompts till you get what you want. Same with image generation. So that's why learning prompt engineering, aka telling the AI exactly what you need and why, so it can understand what you want, is crucial. Because obviously, if you tell a dog to go pick something up, even though you might think, oh, obviously it's going to pick up a stick, it might pick up a random rock on the ground. You're like, why are you picking up a rock? So that's why you have to tell it, like, please pick up a stick within 100 yards and bring it back to me within 10 seconds or something. Like, just an example of like prompts to.
And I think too, Andrew, I guess, because, when I was experimenting with some of the tools that you were telling me about, the prompt part is really very serious. And so, because, I would put a question in and then I would get back some weird answers. And I'm like, well, this isn't helpful. And it might, if someone is just trying out AI and they might say, wait, I put a question in and it didn't really result in anything great, I'm going to give up on it. Clearly what you're saying is, no, the prompts are the most important parts of getting what it is you need from the tools. So being able to kind of tweak them, learn about what's the best prompt, use yourself to, experiment with different things is really a vital part of the process of using those tools. Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of assistants out there, a lot of people who are, constantly getting better at creating prompts. And of course, it's great that ChatGPT is constantly updating itself all the time. So one of the competitors to ChatGPT, which I love and I've recommended my program too, is Perplexity.ai. And the reason why that's a great resource is because it cites everything that's the information they give you, and it gives you recommended prompts that are similar to your current prompt. And so if you put in the DEI question, find me 10 companies that with DEI, the suggested prompts like, oh, do you also want to know companies looking to change culture in general? Do you also want to know companies that have mission statements on diversity that have it on their website or something like that?
Yes.
So Perplexity.ai is also a great tool to use.
I love Perplexity because when you introduced me to Perplexity, I had a talk about a week or so, 2 weeks ago, in Kentucky, and I was doing a talk that was specifically towards healthcare practitioners, group practices that were healthcare. And so obviously I wanted to provide, there's a talk that I normally do around how to scale, and everyone knows I'm a big thing around scaling. But I wanted to provide real specific strategies for people that were in that particular industry. And I use Perplexity to help me kind of hone in some of the real, specific things that are very unique to the physicians, to the chiropractors, to the various different healthcare owners that were specific to their particular industry, and therefore move that into my own talk. And so when I was able to do that, it was much more valuable. And we're talking about, I put in a prompt. There was some weird things that popped up, but the more I worked on the specific prompt, then I was getting so many good tools. And I love, like what you said, it has the ability to be able to cite. So it cites everything. So I want to go back. So I mean, I'm a real, stickler, maybe it's the lawyer in me, making sure that what I'm saying is not just some fluffy thing that some random, person decided to put on the internet. So I was able to go back and then use those citations to then even go additionally to get further research. So when I put them into my talk, I know for a fact they're credible and they are solid. So I really do love that in Perplexity.
Yes. Yeah. So obviously that's what's so cool is like how effective these tools are and how helpful they are. And so I'm on Twitter. There's also a site called Super Tools where this guy personally tests everything. Rowan Cheung, I think is how you say it. He does a great job providing tools. Also a website called Snack Prompts, which also helps you create prompts for things. And a recent example is you tell, okay, I want to create the best workout plan. And then it will give you all the prompts you need to put in, like what's your height, what's your weight, what's your goal weight, what's your budget for food each week, what do you want how much time do you want to spend preparing your food, and then it will give you a tailored, customized workout plan just by putting in these entries that it asks for. That people usually pay. That is
so cool. And I mean, if you have someone who's a fitness trainer, and obviously they've gone through their training and they know what's a good tool to give to their clients, but having that tool also kind of could buttress whatever, regimens or, whatever things are giving to their clients to make it even a stronger service as well.
Yes. And that's the thing too, is just to be aware of, like, it goes back to, yes, it's wild how powerful AI can be. And you could say, oh, AI is going to replace all trainers. But I'm sure if you talk to most people, like, I don't know about you, but I don't want a robot telling me what to do.
No.
Like
I want that life
person. Yeah. And so people still want that human connection. We learned that in that psychology test where someone would literally have some type of physical comfort and touch rather than eating and drinking. Like, that's how important it is to us. So yes, we might get the perfect plan, the perfect strategy, the perfect answers, but at the end of the day, we are still going to want that human contact in some way or another. And I agree, like what you said, using AI as a buttress to your company is going to be so time saving and productive.
Because look, I think in the end of the day, if someone's out there listening right now and you're thinking, you're operating from a place of fear, like you're rejecting AI because you somehow feel like it's going to push you out of business, I'd like for you to maybe release those fears a bit. Obviously, being, you have to pay attention to what's happening. So, it's the name of business. But a part of, I have 8 components that I really drive home with my clients. One of which is innovation and optimization within the business. And so this is one way that if you can stay ahead of the curve and really just kind of think about, okay, how can I use this tool AI to optimize and to innovate in my business? Then you'll if you really could even use it on some level to find out what your clients are needing more, so you can stay above that. And so I'd like to just encourage people to not really be fearful about the new tools that are popping up. Be aware and be, always try to find a way to make sure that you are relevant. At the same time, I think that it can increase the standard of service you can provide to your customers. Obviously, we have a number of folks who are not just service providers, but they also have products. So that listen to the Founders Check-In. So, if you can use AI to help you optimize the products that you provide to your customers, find ways to even, find ways to market as well. I think really, Andrew, that's the fear factor, I think, does keep people from leaning in. And I think it would be good to just kind of release that, don't you think?
Oh, 100%. And I want to remind people too, humans have been afraid of technology for since the dawn of time, but obviously we wouldn't be here without evolution of technology. And it's crazy. There's a show I love called Adam Ruins Everything, where he helps challenge all of our general, perceptions of things. And one thing he talks about is even in the dawn of time, people thought that writing was stupid. They're like, why would you write when you could just talk to each other? Like, there's no point in writing things down. I'll just remember what you say.
Right.
And people used to be afraid of books and then newspapers. And then, of course, I'm sure people were afraid of computers. I'm sure there's backlash against that.
Yes.
And a proportion that I like that was explained is that AI can now cover about 80% of the work that you can do. And so there's still 20% of work that you can be doing and you need to be doing to keep your business moving forward and staying optimal and things like that. But just imagine if you had 80% of your day saved to do whatever you want during that time.
Exactly.
Hopefully that's the perspective you're coming from.
Yeah. I completely agree, Andrew. I mean, I was talking to I was visiting one of my aunts over the Memorial Day weekend, who's I think 82 right now. And she's the eldest of my aunts from my mother's side. So she's sort of the matriarch of the family. And we were just sort of spending some time with her and loving on her and such. And, she was just sort of talking about how, when airplanes came, and they finally were people were beginning to see airplanes in the air, they would just sort of call them these flying cars, right?
Oh wow, I bet.
And they would everyone in the neighborhood would come around if they saw a plane in the air, be like, look, it's a flying car, right? That was before it was more accessible. Before those times, it was more for the wealthy people that would be able to afford to fly. But my point is, though, right now, I mean, goodness gracious, in the past 3 weeks, I think I've flown on 10 different airplanes, right? It's just a normal thing that we do now. We don't even think about it. So I think it's really important for us to recognize that as we continue to evolve as humanity and different things get invented, that it gives us space, not only the 80% to do whatever we want to, but I think it gives us space to evolve and to use the rest of our brains, because there's so much, we only use a certain amount of our brain. And I feel like humanity can do so much more, but we don't, because we're having to pay attention to some other things. With AI, again, with responsible and ethical usage of the tools, I think that we can begin to start using our brain power to do other things and to solve other problems that AI can't solve right now. So I think there's a lot to be said for just being able to release the fear around AI and then embrace it in your business. Because I really believe the people that are attracted to this particular show are people that have services and products that really do make a significant impact on the world. And so I'd love for you guys to be able to implement AI into your businesses in a way that allows you to be able to serve the world even more with the services and products that you have. And so, Andrew, I know you have a course that I actually enrolled myself in, and Andrew's sort of been giving me hints with my team, and it's just been great as we've been implementing AI in our business slowly, but as we move it on. So why don't you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, so I have the Andrew's Accountability Accelerator, and it's a course where I help people not only learn about some of the top AI tools out there to help you with content creation, lead generation, business growth, saving you that 80% of your day to do whatever you want with the rest of your time, but also making sure people are held accountable to implementing it. Because it goes back to, we get so overwhelmed, like, oh my gosh, what do I do next? How do I do this? But until there's accountability in place to actually make sure you're putting in the work and consistently growing with consistent progress, we get stuck in our own heads and we have excuses for why we can't move forward. And so that's the group is helping teach people AI tools, how to use them, how to grow and monetize their businesses, and then making sure the accountability backs it up so they're putting in the work and seeing their business grow, tracking their progress, and collaborating with each other.
I love it. And I've met some really great people so far. I mean, there's some really different types of people that are in there. I mean, I met one woman who her podcast is like one of the top 1% podcasts in the country, and or I don't know, in the world, I don't know. We've got a great person who we met who's like, doing some really great work with young adults and inspiring them. And and then we've got another guy who's doing great, who's doing agriculture. So there's like a varied amount of people that are enrolled in the course. And I really, again, I'm not pushing, Andrew's not giving me a cut. So, this is not an ad per se, but if you think you want to start dabbling into AI in your business and you want someone who's a good teacher, can actually take you through the various different apps. You don't have to sift through all of them and, get confused, but there are some apps that Andrew has curated and said, okay, these are the ones that work best for this or work best for that. He'll teach you how to use them, and then he keeps you accountable. Andrew's a strong accountability coach. He's forever pinging me, Kerry-Ann, you didn't post a thing. I'm like, oh, Lord, Andrew. So if you think that you might want to start putting AI into your business, but you're a bit overwhelmed by all of the talk, because a lot of talk, and it never really amounts to much.
There's a lot,
But if you really want to start doing this, then I would really, really recommend doing this course. How can they find out? Where's the website?
Yes, they can go to weisswisdom.com, and then if you do //AAA, you can find more information about the course. You can also contact me if you have more questions. Find me on social media at the Andrew J. Weiss, WEISS, and I'm happy to answer more questions and walk you through why it'd be a good fit for you. But obviously, I'm passionate about this course. It's awesome to hear the wins. Kerry-Ann had one of her biggest YouTube video reels.
Yes, it was
views.
true. My biggest YouTube video was working with Andrew. Yes.
Coincidence? I think
not coincidence at all.
Exactly.
Not coincidence at all.
Yes.
Yeah. And I don't even have like a strong YouTube. I don't even promote my YouTube channel that much. It's just some place where I usually put the content that I do here on LinkedIn or on Facebook. And literally, I had over, 1,700 views and several likes and comments and so forth. So it's definitely something to if you really want to start getting yourself out there content wise, Andrew's the guy. And also he's really, what I love about Andrew too is that he goes and finds out all the new apps. So literally every week there's a new app that he's saying, I've checked this out. This one works good for this. And because the world is moving so quickly when it comes to AI, and Andrew's been on top of it. So anyway, if you're really thinking about using AI in your business, but you're a little confused, a bit overwhelmed, you're just like, oh God, I have all these other things, touch base with Andrew. Obviously too, if you have a team that you want to help them understand AI, this might be a good thing as well to include in the course as well. So so I think, yes, do that. Now I want us to move a little bit though into the public speaking realm, since you have all of them. I think you said you have like 1,000 speeches under your belt.
At least, yes.
Oh my goodness.
1,000 of them was in 3 years. Yeah.
Oh my, 1,000 speeches in 3 years. Wow. So, people have, I am a strong believer in being able to use communication and the written and the spoken word to be able to convince and to persuade. And I think it's a great way to be able to, I have found, yes, definitely out there in the world, when you're doing lead generation, a lot of it is very much a little bit hands-offy. But once you sit down, For me, I always know if I sit down and have a face-to-face meeting with someone, then the chances of me being able to close that particular deal skyrockets. And a lot of that requires a great deal of communication. So it's not just speaking on stage. What speaking on stage is, to me, a great tool to get lead generation within your business. I do it all the time. At the same time, it's not just that, it's speaking regularly with your customers, with your prospects, with your clients, even with vendors. So one of the things, though, people have such a fear, and I've noticed even more anxiety around public speaking or speaking. I mean, sometimes people have a hard time just calling their doctor's offices, which is really fascinating. So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about, how does one overcome fear of speaking publicly, starting from just speaking with prospective clients in a meeting all the way up to being on a stage?
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a whole presentation in itself, but we'll attempt to tackle it one step at a time.
Give us the Cliff Notes version, and maybe we'll bring you back on and we'll do a whole talk on public
Yes,
speaking.
exactly. So what I like to tell people, so first of all, for those listening and watching, believe it or not, Kerry-Ann and I did not come out of the womb knowing how to give a presentation. Like it's not something that you're born with. It's a learned skill. It's just like, I don't know about you, Kerry-Ann, but like the first time I was learning how to drive a car, I was like, oh, do I press the gas pedal and the brake at the same time? What are all these buttons?
Right. Oh, I know, not at
And
all.
now people are
I
so
had a lot of
confident when they
yelling from my father.
Oh my God, don't get me started on that. Yeah, it's very stressful. And now, of course, you hear stories about people who are able to drive with a burger in one hand, a drink in the other hand, driving stick shift with their elbow and driving with their knees. So I'd say, just like in public speaking, like, yeah, getting those first sentences on stage in front of an audience of 10, 100, 1,000 people can be horrifying and scary. But once you do it enough times, learn little things that keep improving over time, it can get better. And another thing I tell people is that our brains are actually physically programmed to hate public speaking, because we're a very tribal species where for tens of thousands of years, we absolutely needed other people to survive, to help protect us from danger, to help make sure, okay, you get the berries while I go hunt the deer or something like that. All right, you build the fort while I'll go bring the water. And it's programmed into our brain that if a lot of people are watching you and looking at you, it means you did something wrong. And if you did something wrong, you're going to get kicked out of the tribe. If you get kicked out of the tribe, you're screwed.
Yes.
So fortunately, we can tell ourselves, wait a second, it's the 21st century now. I don't have to be, hopefully not. If a lot of people are looking at you, it doesn't have to be a bad thing.
Right.
And that even if you pee yourself on stage, hopefully you'll still live after that. Hasn't happened to me yet, fortunately. So going back to, understanding the psychology of speaking, understanding it's a learned skill, and understanding too that it doesn't have to be this huge feeling like, oh my gosh, I have to pretend to be this completely other person. Like, granted, yes, we can go into imposter syndrome and personas or who shows up on stage and all that. But like we talked about earlier in this call today, like showing up as your authentic self is the best thing not only you can do for yourself, but for the audience. And most of the time, the audience wants to see you succeed. They want to see you do well. They want to see you be your best up there to help inspire them, motivate them, give them the knowledge they need at the time.
Yes.
And so we understand too that people want to see you succeed. Hopefully that can help you relax a little bit, speak as your authentic self, understand you're giving back to this audience, and hopefully that you're providing value to them. And that's the beauty of it, is being able to impact so many people at once when you're a great public speaker.
Yeah, one of the things that I always think about, and I tell this to my clients a lot, is, if they have a speech or they have a sales pitch, I always say, stop thinking about yourself. I try to just stop thinking. And look, I've done a zillion and one talks, and I talk to people, I ask people for tons of money. I'm very comfortable in that space, but I still do have fears, anxieties sometimes when I'm going to be, having a speaking or presenting or having a sales meeting or whatever, the pitch conversation. So I still already, but what I often do is, like, when I'm feeling those feelings, it's because I'm focusing on me. So I'm focusing on how people are going to perceive me. But if I can get out of the need for approval to get perceived. And I think that your story around, how we evolved from the early days and why I think that makes a lot of sense. But if we can sort of think about how can I use the word love because love is one of my biggest values. And people sometimes feel like, how can you love someone you don't know? I believe love is an energy force that we can generate within ourselves towards others. However, even if love is too mushy for you, but if it can be like, how can I add value? How can I allow for this person or these people that I'm going to be speaking to walk away better than when I found them? If you can come from a place of, it's not about me, it's about them, then you begin to basically you're less concerned about yourself. You're less concerned about, oh, am I going to look smart? Or am I going to be, using the right language, or am I going to fumble? And the thing is, I've also found, Andrew, and maybe you might say this to yourself. I mean, obviously you want to be at the top of your game as best you can when you're communicating and so forth. But like a fumble here and a fumble there makes you human and makes you much more relatable to people. And they're like, oh, okay, because everyone has this fear. So when they see someone sort of fumble, they're like, oh, okay, great. She's human being too, right? So
yeah. And I do want to tell a quick story about that, actually. So my wife, who's currently on Broadway, that's actually what helped inspire her that Broadway was even possible, is that when she took a field trip when she was in middle school and she was watching Wicked, one of the longest running,
love Wicked.
Yes, most popular Broadway shows of all time. And she remembers sitting in the audience, and during one of the songs, the person cracked during her song. And she's like, oh, so it's okay to mess up. You'll be on Broadway and and make that happen. And there's even psychological studies that back that up too, where they did a study where they had these people do demos, and I think at Costco, where they would demo a smoothie machine and making smoothies. And a person would go through the demo perfectly and then attempt to sell the machine. The other person would go through the demo, but at one point she would get smoothie all over her and make a mess or something. And for whatever reason, at least the study that I saw, the person who messed up a little bit, she actually got more sales and was more liked by the people than the person who did it perfectly. So not that I'm advocating for you to calculate mess ups into your presentation,
right?
Because that probably happened anyway, but just know it's okay. It makes you more human, makes you more relatable, more likable, and it's okay depending on the mess up, but for the most part. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, definitely. I think the not feeling like you need to be perfect, moving from a place of stop focusing on yourself and start thinking about others. And the other thing too, Andrew, I think what I found, you might agree with this, is if you believe in what it is you're talking about, if you truly believe that your service, your product can actually help the people that you are presenting for, or you're pitching towards, or you're talking about towards, or, I'm using all kinds of different adjectives or prepositions that don't work right now. But, if you believe in what it is that you have to say, then you're more likely to be more confident in what you're saying. And so I know I've had several conversations with people who listen to the Founders Check-In, and they're just like, and you guys have some amazing products, amazing services that you some of you believe in it, and some of you are a little still not completely confident. But I think believing in what it is that you have to offer, I think, makes a difference in how you stand up in that space. Because if you're on the side of the road and you saw someone whose leg was broken or something was sick, and you knew you had the cure to whatever was going to fix them, you wouldn't be worried about, oh, how are they going to perceive me? You'd run straight to them. You'll give them the medication, or you fix the leg, or you do the thing because you were caring about them and you were confident in that you could help. So I just feel it's really a part of it is just really believing in what it is that you are giving to the world as well.
100%. And I like what you said too. It's not about you. And it's a good reminder too, because there's a lot of people out there who are very passionate, very charismatic, very confident, selling things to people that they know don't help them. And so it's not just yourself that you're competing against. It's the people who are selling crappy products, crappy services, but because they're confident and charismatic about it, they get bought from. And like classic example is like snake oil. Like the people know
Yes.
that term, like, oh, a snake oil salesman. Well,
Yeah.
guess what? They're still selling the snake oil because they know how to sell.
No, exactly.
And
Exactly.
so if they can
Exactly.
sell a bad product and a bad service, you can get the confidence and the self-belief to go, you know what, my product, my service does actually help people. It does serve them. I need to be getting out there.
Yes.
And I get passionate about this too, watching I Am Legend or Legend with Will Smith, when he talks about the Bob Marley scene, when
Yes.
Bob Marley, he's doing a concert, he gets shot, and he still musters the courage to still go up and sing the rest of the concert. And they're like, why did you do that? He's like, there's a lot of bad people out there. I'm just going to do what I can to bring the good into it.
Yeah.
And just having
I
that
love that.
understanding too, that a lot of people are selling bad products and bad services. You got to be the one to be passionate about your good products and
I
services.
love that. I love that, Andrew. I love, love, love that. And ripping off from that is it's almost like we have a responsibility to
Mm-hmm.
bring our message and our products forward, because the world deserves and needs what it is that we all have to bring, and so that we can counteract the other things, right? And I remember watching that. I don't know if you watched the doc. Well, there was some in documentaries and films around Bernie Madoff, but there was one on Netflix that recently came up, and I was watching. It was like a 4 episode, 1 or 5, and I'm always fascinated by people such as Bernie Madoff and others who rise to such amount of influence by selling nothing, right? And how he, if you don't know, if you I don't know if you watched it, but how he came about was, his father-in-law wanted him to give some advice to some of his father-in-law's clients, and but he didn't know, that was not a part of his expertise. And so this was like when he was really, really young, like, in his 20s or whatever, early 20s. And he just basically didn't have the expertise to do it. He kind of just, put some money away, like and then he was so shocked that people like actually believed him, and
Yeah.
then and that's how it evolved.
Yep.
And so I think there's so many people who don't know and don't actually have the expertise that you guys who are listening have, or don't have a product that is as good as the one that you have, and yet they're out there doing the do. So I'd like to encourage you to really, step into, manage your fears around speaking and really step into it. Andrew, do you do coaching on speaking by chance? I'm just curious.
I do. Yeah. If people come to me and they're like, Andrew, I want to give a great presentation, or I want to pitch my business idea, or I want to be a more confident speaker, then yes, I do coach on that as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are feeling like, you know what, this is the year I'm going to jump in, or, right now we're doing a whole lot of work with my clients and sort of looking at third quarter and fourth quarter stuff and wrapping up second quarter. And if you feel like, you know what, I like to begin to implement, even if you just want to be better at your sales conversations, or if you want to start getting on stage and speaking, then, this might be a good time to sort of reach out and say, hey, Andrew, I'm thinking, I need to start doing this. And so those are the two main things we wanted to drive in. One, encourage you to start embracing AI,
Mm-hmm.
and two, to start thinking about getting out there and speaking and started communicating what it is, your expertise, to the world. And so as you can tell, Kenji, I'm sure based on this conversation, you can see why I totally bonded with Andrew. He's a really cool dude, but really has a great deal of expertise around things, and he's very, very diligent, and not a fly by night. So I really, really like to bring people in who are, know what they're talking about, and also are very disciplined in the way they operate their businesses. And so I hope these two things today have helped you. Just, as I say, I like to think of the Founders Check-In as sort of a monthly dose, a monthly dose of strategy for you to implement your business. And so hopefully this was really helpful for you. Next month's topic, we're thinking about doing financial, how to sort of bring on a bookkeeper, accountant, or a fractional CFO in your business. So if you think that's a topic you might be wanting to do, hit it up in the chat and say, yep, that's the topic I'd love to hear. Or if there's other things that you'd like to hear, I'd love to hear from you. In the meantime, have a fantastic summer. We're going into June soon, so wrapping up May here, and we're just excited about having a great summer. So again, find Andrew on LinkedIn, social media. You're everywhere, yeah?
Yes, I am. Yeah, just about. Yeah, yeah. LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. Yeah, the Andrew J. Weiss, and my website's weisswisdom.com. I'd love to hear from you and connect with you more.
And the course is /AAA, correct?
Yes, weisswisdom.com/AAA. Yeah, that's the one that you can join me and Kerry-Ann and have fun with us.
Yeah, come on over. All right, guys, have a fantastic day. Andrew, thanks for being our guest.
It's been an honor. Thanks for hosting. Cheers.